Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. We're back for another episode. We're super excited about this one. First of all, we have Jordan Shane, a pro cyclist for Elevate Webplex and Finesse Esports. How's it going, Jordan?
Doing well. Coming to you from the nation's capital.
Yeah,
This nation's capital,
Washington D.C. I was gonna say you got it. We have to be. We're a very global. So actually, I was going back and forth with Anna Russell the other day, and I was insisting it was global. This channel, and then I looked, and 0.0% of New Zealanders watch the channel. So it's not that global.
She doesn't watch. She doesn't watch Rick.
I know. I keep sending her all the links. Jacquie Godby, MD, PhD. We're going to keep saying it. Cyrus Pro's Closet, 4S Endurance, and Noon. 3 times in a row, I've got it right.
The ooh gets shorter every time.
Yeah. I can't say. Jacquie put about 900 O's in the pronunciation in the show notes, so I can't do that. And our special guest for the week, Eric Schlang. Welcome to the show, Eric. So,
Hey.
if you don't know Eric, Zwift Insider, he's the guy. His wife wrote his bio for him, so he's an incredible husband, incredibly kind man, and he has a ZHD, a Zwift doctorate. So
honorary.
Honorary Zwift doctorate. But I think it was signed by Eric Min. That's my guess. Eric, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I am doing great. Just finished a Zwift ride with my cousin Boone, riding all around Watopia. So I'm feeling fresh and another beautiful Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your shirt too.
Thank you. This is a good reminder for myself. Anytime I win a B race, my wife points at this shirt and says, "Just remember."
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. So once we get some more people watching, we're going to announce the contest of the week. But if you take a look at Jacquie, that's our first hint right now. Jacquie is moving in tomorrow, right?
The moving van comes on Wednesday, but very early Wednesday. So yes, we have packed up my very typical desk, no chair. So I am essentially podcasting from an empty apartment right now. Why the light's a little weird. Everything looks real empty in the background, and I'm a little bouncier than normal.
She's on the only chair in her house, which is her bike. So we're going to announce
the most comfortable chair in my house.
So for anybody watching right now, the game is, can you figure out what route Jacquie is on right now? So keep watching the channel, but also go figure out what route she's on.
That's cheating, Rick. You can't go find her.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they could just guess. Everybody could just guess.
Okay. Based on her composure level, like I know it's not Alp the Zwift, based on how she's riding.
If Jacquie's not breathing hard, that just means she's 320 watts or under. So
right.
I mean, really, what I did is I just went to the top of Venta, soft pedal down.
Yeah.
Downhill.
All right, so we're going to do our first break from the agenda here on that topic. Eric, do you happen to know how many Zwift routes there are, top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I want to say around 100, 100, but I can't remember if that's including the event-only routes or not.
That's pretty good. I don't know what I should have had the three of us guessed, and then you could have told us.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my follow-up question. Does that include the event-only routes?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a little while since I counted, so I don't remember, but I could find out.
Yeah, I haven't.
And have you done all of them?
Of course. I
have. I feel like there's a couple that I'm still missing, but I've actually ridden them before the badges became badges.
Oh.
I don't have all the badges. I'll admit to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that why you started the badge? You're doing your badge hunts, which are incredibly popular. Did you start them so you could fill out the badges?
I didn't actually. I guess I kind of did. I started it because Steve Beckett from Zwift HQ, who's he's the VP of marketing, I think is his technical term, but he's kind of second in command over there. He's over a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And he he asked me, we messaged a little bit back and forth, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think about doing a Zwift Insider group ride that tackles a really tough one?" And he wanted to do one that was a badge that he didn't have, and I didn't have it either, even though it was one I had done a long time ago, and that was the first one we did, which I don't even remember what it was. The Uber pretzel, I think.
Yeah.
Oof.
So anyway, that the first two that we did actually were ones that I didn't have the badge for, but I'd ridden them before that, like PRL full as well.
Yeah, and so Monica has all the badges and you don't. Monica, your wife.
This is very true.
Okay.
Yes.
Did she get all the Japan ones right away? So she could hold it over your head again?
I actually think she doesn't have all the Japan ones yet.
Okay.
She's got
Eric.
some of them.
Your chance. You should be riding right now.
I can take back the title.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that series that she did. I always read what she was up to, and
It was a beast.
Yeah, I aspired to do that, but I didn't. So
she's more of a beast than me on many levels. Like the amount of time it took her to ride stuff like the Uber pretzel. I mean, she was on the bike for like 8.5 hours. I just couldn't do that.
No.
No.
I could hardly do that outdoors, but I don't think I could do that on Zwift. Like my longest rides are maybe 4.5 or 4.
Yeah.
That's
something.
amazing.
Do you have all the badges, Jordan?
I don't think so, because I've not made a point of doing them just so. Like, I probably will take a U-turn and screw it up for myself, and yeah, I haven't been committed to it. I know I've ridden every road in Zwift, but that's nothing special.
I keep going back to something that you said a couple episodes ago, Jordan, that you got the Tron bike riding only on Jarvis Island.
No, that's not true.
I thought that's what you said.
No, I got it on the hilly course. I got it doing reps of the forward and the reverse.
Okay, well, still, that sounds like the most miserable thing I've ever heard.
I know, it was very hard to accumulate elevation. That's a lot of reps.
Were you just going up and down, or were you riding the loop?
I would do like sets of like intervals where it was like, 5 minutes up the reverse, spin it and come back. Yeah, it was good. It didn't take that long because I was riding it every day for like 3 hours trying to get it ready for a professional season, right? So this was before I had the means to go to Tucson for the winter. So I was doing a lot of miles then. And there was no real race mode. Sorry?
Free ride or erg mode?
Oh, free ride. You
don't do erg, right? Yeah.
I've never done erg mode, so I'm purist that way.
We're gonna do erg with Jordan. That's gonna be the no breakaways ride.
Erging with Jordan.
Jackie, do you have all the badges?
I am missing one. I do not have PRL full.
Oh.
I do not anticipate getting PRL full anytime soon either.
It would have been funny if you're like, oh, I don't have the flat loop. Like something that take like 20 minutes.
You just gave away that you're not doing PRL full right now. So check that off.
Yeah.
I figured we were not going to last 6 hours tonight.
Oh, come on.
We got Eric. There's a lot of
not quitters.
We've waited a long time for you, Eric. We have a lot of questions.
Yeah. So Eric, wait, have you done the PRL full badge hunt one yet?
I read that article, I think, that you did it.
We did I think it was the second badge hunt ride we did was PRL full. Second or third.
I was going to say we could do it with no breakaways. And we could, PRL full by Zwift Insider, also no breakaways is tagging along, and we could all three get the badge.
Yeah.
I super don't want to get that badge, so it's going to take me.
Well, Rick, if you are up for it, I will do it with you.
I'll do it. I'll 100% do it.
I found the Uber tougher than PRL full, but I think it kind of depends on who you are as a rider, and it depends on what kind of a group you're with. But if you're with a big group, I think PRL full is just kind of you walk into it and you get into a rhythm. But Uber, all that Alp at the end just destroys you.
Oh yeah.
There was a while where I was doing Uber like twice a week as my long ride. So
I did Uber once before the badges, and
Uber's a mental game for me. It's
So Eric, I think
so that didn't help.
I think we've raced each other once, right? In the first ever steering race. and
I
you
think
out
so.
sprinted me. You out sprinted me because I thought I was going to be smart and take one line the whole way around and get the inside line on the corner, but it turns out it was longer most of the way, and so I just ended up behind while other people took it. So I'm 0 for 1. Luckily,
Alright.
I'm undefeated against Jordan and Jacquie.
Yeah. I'm undefeated against you, Rick.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
see what
true.
happens,
It's true.
buddy.
I was actually trying to dream after we were talking about me and Jacquie racing. I was trying to dream up different races Jacquie and I could do. And here's what I think we should do.
Okay.
We have the three of us do a hilly KOM forward, but it's a staggered start. So I think it's going to take me like 2 minutes. I think it'll take Jacquie, I don't know what it'll take Jacquie, like a minute 25 or something. And you can do like a minute 23, Jordan, or something.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. I don't know how fast you two can ride. I have no. I just assume you're unbelievable, and I have never heard of you.
I just love how Rick has this dream of this race, and he's giving himself his own handicap of 37 seconds.
Yeah, but I'm way worse than you. Both.
It'll take me
Hey,
like
but
2
Rick,
minutes. or
you're
so.
undercutting your strength here. Like you've said before, you're the smart racer who takes advantage of the draft.
Yeah, no,
You can't draft when you get a head
we
start.
decided it's going to be one lap of Crit City, and Jackie's on a mountain bike, and you're on the Tron.
That would be fun. I would do that.
It's tactical. You guys can start real slow if you want. It just matters who comes across first.
Well, I would do that.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like what is the track race where they do that?
Yeah, it's like
my
the.
goodness.
Oh God,
One
you're
of us
asking
know. What do you mean? You're a professional cyclist. You're supposed to know everything about cycling, Jordan.
I've never raced on the track.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
The thing is, I was just showing YouTube videos to my friends this weekend of this.
Match sprint. It's the match sprint.
Okay.
Right, yeah, you guys do a match sprint on Crit City. Zwift Insider's covering it. It's the main event of the week, and that's
It's a big
it.
one. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to do a match sprint Crit City against Jacquie, and then I want to do a match sprint at a velodrome against Jordan. I will. I feel like I may be able to beat you in that because I think my sprint might be higher than yours.
Okay. Yep, you definitely is. I just did I did a bunch of.
I can get my cadence like 140.
I think I probably did about 600 sprints this weekend, and none of them were over 1,000 watts. So
Okay, that would be fun. I would do that again. See, there's so many good things happening here, and as more people are joining, reminder: chime in. What route is Jacquie riding as she's on the trainer on this show? Apparently this show was not difficult enough for Jacquie. She had to ride. All right, so we've I was going to say wasted, but it's not true. We've spent 13 minutes talking off agenda. Jordan, you had a big race this weekend. First race in a year and a half or something?
Yeah, so I raced in September 2019 against the best riders in the world in Montreal and Quebec. And then I raced one crit last year in February, and then the world went to hell, and I didn't race again. So it's really been like a solid like 20 months without a real race. And and we went to like one of the premier criterium weekends in the US calendar. It just happens to be opening weekend here in Washington, D.C., Arlington, Virginia. 2 races. They were merciful. They didn't put the 100K crit with 7 corners a lap for 100. They didn't do that first. They did that second. So first day was a little tame. It was about 60 kilometers, an hour and a half. Still a technical course. But yeah, it was great. You know, I got right back in there. It's just like riding a bike. I was off the front in the first lap, like maybe shouldn't have been. Maybe that was stupid, but it was exhilarating. You know, you just take the whole shot around the first corner and start ripping, and it was awesome. We're flying.
Wait. So, okay, you're off the front in the first lap. I feel like you're about to skip over whatever happened. What happened? I mean, I'm used to no breakaways.
So like we talked about this a bit last time about how crits work. Like, it's very hard for a breakaway to work. Basically, you just hammer away until somebody gives up and the breakaway goes. So I attack first, but like there's no chance that the first attack goes. That's just like the opening bell of the fight, and then everybody throws punches for. It took almost an hour the first time out of an hour and a half for the breakaway to go. And unfortunately, our team missed it. We actually lost. We lost 3 of our 6 riders to crashes in the first half hour of that race. It was pretty hectic. I did not crash. So I did technically finish that. I got caught behind a crash with like 4 laps to go. And before that, if you get caught behind a crash, you can get a free lap and get back in the race. But after, like when it's so close to the finish, you don't get a free lap. So I did technically finish, but I didn't actually complete the distance, which was fine with me at that point. Actually, I got to the pit and they said no more free laps, and I said sweet. So yeah, no, we didn't really have a great team outing the first time. But we haven't raced together at all. Our team, a lot of other teams have raced in California and Texas and Florida, places where they've been open for a few weeks of racing, and we haven't even had a team camp. So like this was kind of our spring training a little bit. It just happened to be at Yankee Stadium, if you know what I mean. So like it was pretty high end. And yeah, the second day was the 100K, and yeah, I was actually doing super well. I was at the front of the race for 50 of the 100 laps, but it was American temperatures. It was 105 and 100% humidity. I'm just assuming that because it was like, you know, you could feel the water in the air.
It's humid there.
Yeah. So I cooked, and I went from being at the front laughing, literally making jokes, like having a good time, to out of the race laps later. So you got to adapt. It's snowing at home right now. Literally, it is snowing. So you have to, I'm just, you know, it takes a few rides in the heat to get used to it. Everybody knows that. And there's no way around that, really. But yeah, but very satisfied with how I was feeling, like considering you went from, I've trained with at most 4 other people in a little group before this, to like racing with 120 guys at top speed.
Some of the best in the country. Yeah, I was looking at the results.
Yeah. So, and the team managed, I think we got a 7th and a 9th, which ain't bad, you know, ain't bad. But we've won this race before, and we're racing in Oklahoma next weekend, or this coming weekend. And that's a race that the team has won at least 3 times in the past decade. So we're going to win that, and we should be a well-oiled machine now. So yeah, didn't crash myself. Didn't, you know, have any issues. The legs were good. I was at the front of the race, slicing and dicing. Hate to tell you guys, it's a lot more fun than Zwift racing. It's pretty exhilarating, but you know,
we don't believe you. Don't believe
Bite your tongue, sir. Bite your tongue.
Yeah, yeah. But hey, I'll give it a lot of credit. You know, like I went from literally just training by myself to racing at that level, and I think like handling the adrenaline dump of that, I could give some credit to the Zwift racing I did. Like it was pretty natural to just click into high gear and start going.
Did you sprint at the start?
Oh, everybody sprints at the start.
Did they actually? I don't know anything about it.
Oh yeah. Well, like because it's very hard to move up, like once it starts, you know, once it starts going fast, it goes from this to a single file line, and you can do about 250 watts in the line, or you can step out in the wind and do 700 watts to try to pass. So if you can be up here instead of back here at the start, that's a lot of 750 watts to save. Oh. So yeah, it's a people line up like 30 minutes before, and there's a constant jostling, you know, towards the front. Like, can I get a little, you know, 2 inches? Can I get a little further? And it's all part of it. It's really great. But this is an awesome event. And Tulsa is going to be just as bigger. It's going to be awesome.
That's awesome. Well, good luck. If you see Jordan at Tulsa Tough, tell him you can't believe the work he does in No Breakaways. It's amazing. Give him a shout out. I am proud to announce that I did my biannual outside ride this last weekend. I got to say the physics were pretty unrealistic. I didn't like it.
Yeah. You weren't going 40K an hour or 150 watts on 40K an hour.
Yeah, we went this one direction, and there was some sort of invisible force pushing on us. I don't know what it was, but all the trees were moving and stuff. So yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, that's about all I have to report, really. Well, good luck this weekend. I was glad to see you getting back out there.
It's really a dream come true. You know, for a lot of us, we wondered whether it would ever be, because, you know, it's a whole ecosystem that was threatened by this pandemic, our professional racing, and we were back, and there was thousands of people watching, and it felt just right. So that's awesome. And thanks to Zwift for getting me through these hard times. Like, you know, who knows what would have happened if I hadn't had that outlet.
Well, if it wasn't for this, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met you. We wouldn't be best
Yeah.
friends now. So
Yeah, we're best friends.
yeah,
Rick and I.
absolutely. All right. Yeah. So let's hop in. Let's talk a little bit about ZRL. First, let's go through the playoff results, and then we can talk about what we saw if we watched the races. I think Eric had some teammates. I know I had some teammates in there, and some of our impressions. So first off, let's go through the results. Let me see if I remember when I put this in. I did not. Sorry.
Disclaimer: I did not watch the races.
I only watched one of them.
Disclaimer: none of us prepare properly for this show.
Yeah. This was not my best.
I was on an airplane for most of it. I was supposed to race with one of our the Dirt B squads, but I told them.
We don't talk the details around here. We kind of just like to hear the sounds of our own voices. So you're in the right place, I think.
Yeah. All right. So men's Division A champions, we have DPAC Elite won it. Cryo RDT Men and Fusion ECT. All congratulations on getting up to the Premier League. For the for the women, we had Kirchmer, the women dev team, won, and Agawat was second. No third place team, only 2 women's teams participated, but congrats to Kirchmer and Agawat on their promotions. Awesome. Glad to see it. For the mixed Division B, Dirty Sprockets, shout out to you guys, and ZRG03 actually got second, and Kirchmer Honeybees were third. This was a super tight race. A lot of great efforts, I know. For the women's Division B, we had Dutch Diesel Cycling Xena, TBR Smile on Bees, and Kirchmer Magnolia. Division 3 mixed Herd Mentality wins. Also, shout out to Herd for some of the best team names in the game. We have the RWB Green Dragons and the Kirchmer Stinging Bees. Kirchmer just stacking it up everywhere.
Yeah.
Division 3 Women's C Champions, just what I was talking about with Herd. Herd of Gentoo Penguins comes home with the overall.
Good.
That's really good.
That's good.
Belgian Zwift Rider Bullets 2 and the BRT Candy Kittens. Also, I like that as well. Division 3.
Like I said before, anything with candy or chocolate, I 100% endorse here.
There we go. You get the No Breakaways endorsement. The mixed Division B champs, we have the TBR Hard Knocks, Team CLS, Delimited Diesels in second, and Team NLD in third. And rounding it out, our women's Division D champions, Rave D Euro wins it. I like that name as well. ATP Racing Buzz, and WTRL Drafting Dinos UKD1. Congratulations to everybody. Super cool. We love the format. We love what's going on. Looks like Eric's video just went out, so it changed all our names around. I am not Jordan Shane.
We got to make sure we mention that these are the world champions of Zwift.
The world champions. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So congrats to the new Premier League teams. Congrats to all the world champions. I know I had the Draft B guys. The team that I ride with was in it. Eric, your team was, are they the team that won?
No, we were the Hellhounds, and I'm actually not sure where the Hellhounds finished.
I had seen results. Oh, well, we're doing this in Discord. Otherwise, I'd go look in our Discord and see. But
yeah,
it was a very tight race at the top. Lots of fantastic performances. Looking at the watts per kg of that B race, that's the toughest B race I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they were just flying.
The highest 4.0 that is possible.
Well, the thing is, like, we're all very good at drafting and all that, but I mean, the times up the Titans Grove were just flying 4 flat, 356.
The way ZRL works, as long as you didn't go over the zone too early in the season, you can do whatever the heck you want in the play.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Shenanigans, that's a hot take. What are we saying?
No,
Eric?
no.
I'm just throwing that out there.
The problem
We're
with the system.
encouraging fitness gains as a result of steady competition.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I did scouting for this race for my team, and I noticed that maybe like 30 or 40% of all the mixed people who came up as like big competition, like these are the people who might win this race, they were A's now.
Yeah.
So none of our guys upgraded to A's, so I have a big problem with it. But if any of our guys would have upgraded, then I have no problem with it because I am hypocritical like that.
Well,
And, I think
support your squad.
Yeah, I would say for me, and I would like to hear Eric's take on this a little bit too, but my personal opinion is if you're a B and then you go through 4 races and then you upgrade to an A and all of a sudden you're at 4.9 watts per kilo, that's not cool. But if these guys go from like 4.18 to 4.26 or something, and it's like, if we were doing an FTP test for the championship, I'd be more worried. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I agree. I think you can tell the first season, some of the races we raced against, you could tell the ones that are sandbagging, sitting in and making sure they don't go over the limit, and you can tell the ones that are on the limit and didn't fit the chains. There's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually had 2 guys actually go over last season in season 2. Pop up to A, but it was that just like barely getting it over. It was because of fitness gains and things like that. Guys getting back into shape, or guys who, one of our guys took a sabbatical from his job during COVID with everything. So then they raced on the Division A in this last season. But yeah, as long as you don't pop way over, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
All's fair in love and war. You can only race the race you're in, eh? It's
The one thing I hope we get to, and I know that there was an article on Zwift Insider by, is it James Eastwood? Is that his name? About the the other video game stuff. Could you explain that for us, Eric? Like how he's talking about doing it?
He was talking. What do they call it? Is a new ranking system. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically by how good you are. So. And I like the ranking system.
That's what they call it.
Match. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I love the idea of having rankings for different types of riders. So, and this is no offense to you, Jordan, but you're never going to get to the top of those rankings because your sprint isn't 17, 18 watts per kilo. But
it is not.
Yeah. But if we're riding the Alp, you are very fast up the Alp, I'm sure. If you wanted to be, right? Because It's more it'd be cool if we had rankings for different types of riders.
Yeah, like a video game, like the what is it, the fighter, and they have different attributes, right? And
top speed, acceleration.
Yeah.
Mario Kart. It's exactly Mario Kart.
Yes.
I'm gonna be Princess Peach. Okay. Call it.
You guys remember CVR?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Way back in the day. They remember when they released their own ranking system. They had a whole website that you could opt into, get your data into there, and they had rankings for climbing races, flat races. They ranked riders differently based on those. It was the most freaking complex explanation of how it was ranked. I wrote a Zwift Insider article about how the rankings worked. And it took me hours just to wrap my head around it.
It could get away from you very quickly, one would imagine.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Frank, the guy that kind of created CVR, he didn't do anything simple. It was always he saw the whole universe and things got complex quickly.
Is CV Arcade still kicking around? That's still a thing?
I haven't heard anything from them really since COVID started, it seemed like. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know it was I was gonna try it, but it was too gamey for me. Which is saying something. Yeah, so Jacquie, I want to know your opinion on something.
Yeah.
You see the women's Premier League thing, only 2 teams competed to get up to Premier League. And both teams I know are fantastic. I know both those teams, excellent riders. Yeah, maybe a little bit what's your take on one? Because I know in all the divisions, different people kind of dropped out. In the B, there were a couple teams that didn't show up. But I guess what's your opinion on that? And how do you think it affects the women's Premier League?
Well, I think it affects the women's Premier League really the same way we see it affect women's races across Zwift. Because women's races just at the most basic level, are poorly attended. I used to joke with John when we were doing the same races for USA Crit, I could guess the women's attendance by taking 1/10 of the men's.
Really?
So they're just,
Yeah.
like it was always a, at the beginning it was closer to 1/7. By the end, it was more like 1/15. I think there just is the unfortunate beginning assumption that we have way fewer riders. And this is just pure with membership. Women are the minority. And it has nothing to do with the additional, sort of social barriers in terms of how do we get Zwift riders to compete? How do we get Zwift riders to, compete at the A division? When, a lot of the people I talk to, especially women who are getting back into fitness, for whatever reason, there's this sense of like, I don't want to embarrass myself. Like if I sign up for a category too high, am I going to ruin the race for other people?
Mm-hmm. Right,
So I think that's our second barrier, is sort of how do we get this already smaller community, get them to racing and get them to racing at the higher level without any sort of intimidation.
Maybe Eric.
And then third, third, I think, particularly with the long-running Zwift racing league, you have to have a team. You have to have a large group of people that can commit to a racing series.
That's right.
8 to 10 weeks long. I can't do this.
Yeah.
No, I am ostensibly a professional Zwift racer, and I cannot commit to an 8-week racing series.
Yeah.
So I think that really compounds the earlier two problems of having this very, very small pool of racers who now have to coordinate and commit with real life obligations of having a job, having a family, having to take a pet to the vet one night. And so it becomes very difficult to coordinate having a team that can commit the necessary number of riders at the same time every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the women's Zrl leagues were fairly well attended. And I mean, I saw the B, there had to be 7 to 10 teams in there for the women. So, I mean, it's like, there were a lot of teams at some of the lower divisions. That's why I was really surprised there weren't more at the A level. And I mean, Agawatt and Kirchmer are more than deserving. And I know Laura, who I know with Agawatt, has done an amazing job building up that team.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this does not denigrate any women who are competing at the A category or in the B category. Like, everyone who's racing is doing fantastic.
Yeah.
The only thing from my perspective, is we need to get volumes up. Like, we need to get more women on Zwift. We need to get more women racing. And once we're there, then we can start filling these A categories. We can start filling the Premier League from the bottom up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Eric, maybe you know the statistics, like Jackie's saying 1/10 female to male competition at the top level. What are we talking about in terms of male to female split on memberships? It's not that drastic, is it?
No, the last I heard it was around that. Around 10%.
Really?
Wow. So it's grassroots. I mean, I guess that's your answer. And
it's been quite a while. It could have changed, but that was a few years ago. I think it was.
Is that what it's like outside too?
Not in terms of participation. That's always the story. In terms of like even endurance sports in general, is always participation is like more equal, but then at the top levels of competition, not so much. I could say that at this race this past weekend is actually very friendly to women's racers. They have had an equal prize purse for like a decade, way before it was cool, and it was probably a third to a half the field, the women's. So, and the talent disparity is larger, just as it is perhaps in the top levels of Zwift women's racing. There's like a certain group of top women that tend to win everything. But that's, I mean, kind of answers your question. If it's 10% at the grassroots level, then it just trickles all the way up and it becomes more severe as you start to look for the top talent. So, we can only try from every level. But I had a thought though. Overall, it's disappointing not to see all the teams compete in the playoffs. Like you were saying, not all the B teams did it. Like we need to make a bigger deal out of the ZRL playoffs. Make it an event so that it's rewarding to compete in. And like I know it's not a monetary prize when you win. It can't really be. It shouldn't be for like a B, C, even an A. But like it could be an event where you win some notoriety. It could be all over Zwift's social media. Like they can make a big deal of it so people actually want to compete. And then I want to watch it. Like I didn't watch this, and I watch all the ZRL PL stuff all through. It just isn't a deal. It's like it's not the climax. It's the denouement. There you go. I do have a bachelor's degree.
Here's what I think they should do. Number one, mail out some real life Zwift shirts to people. Be awesome to have a Zwift shirt. Number two, you get category whatever champion jersey that you can wear for the next ZRL season. How
I was actually
cool
going to
would
suggest that. I mean, like, for Worlds in December, like, the possibility of getting that rainbow virtual jersey was so cool.
Right.
Like, I think people want a part of that.
Just rainbow bands would be great. Rainbow helmet. Rainbow helmet.
Socks. Like,
yeah, something cool. Yeah. What do you think, Eric? Like, I probably had lots of questions about this.
I was going to suggest the same thing. I think just some cool kit unlocks. Even if you could just keep them forever and they were just unique to that season, something simple like socks.
Yeah.
I think that'd be super cool. I think part of the challenge too is that the playoffs are held on a totally different schedule than the normal races.
Yep.
And you don't even really know about, like, you don't know when they even are.
No.
Until later on. So like that's I didn't race them because I had to schedule I had something else going on in my life. Like Tuesdays are pretty open, but Friday and Saturday or Saturday, Sunday, like that's a whole nother ask.
Yeah,
and I do this show, and I knew this was happening, and I tried to like kind of give it not a full effort, but I gave it a decent little effort to find out when these things were and how to watch them, and I just didn't get there. Whereas the rest of it, I know where to find it, and it's exciting. It's good. We should make a deal out of this. This is like the crown. It could be really cool.
Yeah. And I mean,
maybe we can invite a guest racer.
Yes.
I want to have Charlie Isendorf, I think his name is. I want to see if I saw he's on World of Zwift, which means really nothing. I just saw he's on World of Zwift. I saw that on Zwift Insider today, actually. So, and yeah, we there were a couple Easter eggs in the things we're talking about one of our guests coming up that we're super excited about that we're not going to give away yet. I forgot to mention it to Eric before the show. I meant to tell him. We'll tell you after the show. But we have a super cool guest coming on. It's going to be fun to talk to her about some Premier League stuff, getting some really high quality racers in and what it would take. So lots of cool stuff coming up. I'm really excited. I'm so excited.
It's going to be a lot of excitement from a small package. That's a hint. There you go.
I was going to say, I am super excited for this guest. Like, I made sure Rick scheduled it on a night I could be there so I could fangirl. Yeah. Super excited. You guys are going to love it.
Yeah. And Jacquie will be making this announcement next week to the wider audience on the show. If you want to find out first, you can watch the show. Or I'm going to tell Eric, and you can send him probably $100 cash. I bet would do it.
I don't know. That expensive.
Yeah. 120. I'll do it for 120.
Okay. Fair enough.
200 Canadian.
Let's not talk about that.
4.02 Bitcoin. All right. Jacquie, did you have a tactic, or do you want to skip straight to bike discussion?
I want to skip straight to bike discussion because I think that really is a tactic in and of itself.
We have talked around this for a long time. We wanted to have Eric on. Now it's time to grill Eric. Eric, can you put just a spotlight on you and turn all the rest of the lights off, please? We'd really appreciate that. All right, so we actually have been looking forward to this, and through the course preview videos that I've been putting out, and I really appreciate you with some of the bike choice stuff, Eric. I have found out that bike choice is an incredibly hot topic. As I'm sure Eric knew, he put together, there is all sorts of stuff over at Zwift Insider. Check it out. I love the new interactive charts that you made. I don't know if you saw the last preview video I did, but I actually went to the chart and was clicking around. So cool. So thank you for that. We all appreciate it. But maybe tell us, I guess, would you kick it off for us? Talk a little bit about how your tests are run. Talk a little bit about just bike choice in general before we start getting into specifics.
Sure. Well, my tests are run. When I first started doing tests, I did them with my own legs, and that lasted about a month until I started doing the math and realized that there were too many permutations for my legs to keep up. So I had to find a new way, and essentially what I use is I use a piece of software that sends out an amp plus power signal to my Zwift computer. And so it's a bot basically. I'm controlling a bot on the computer, and for almost all the tests, like if I'm testing just the speed of a certain frame or certain set of wheels, I do it with a firewall enabled on the computer, so my rider is alone in the world, so it's not affected by any drafting. We have a couple standard tests. We do a test up the Alp, and we do a test on Tempest Fugit, which is really flat, so a flat test and a climbing test. And just in general, talking about bike choice, I mean, it's the same as outdoors. You want to look at a bike's aeroness, how quickly it cuts through the air, and you also want to look at how lightweight it is, because that's going to determine how well it will climb. And then you look at your course, you figure out what's the best bike. And by bike, I mean frame and wheels. So two things you're putting together. What's the best combination for the course that I'm riding? And one thing a lot of Zwifters may not know is we focus a lot on frames because we're cyclists and we love frames. But wheels have about 3 times more speed effect than frames do in Zwift. So pay attention to your wheels; they're more important than your frame.
So, go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, it's the same thing in real life, actually. Wheels are far more important. Yeah. And although the helmets on Zwift are not important, and in real life they are.
Yeah.
So helmets, this is a question that people ask quite a bit. And the problem is Zwift gives the wrong answer when they ask. Zwift tells people that helmets matter, just not a lot. But our tests show that they don't matter at all. But here's the thing, and this is what's interesting, is I've talked to John Mayfield, the guy who built the game, like the original programmer of it, and he said it's set up so helmets can matter. They just don't. So all they'd have to do is go in and tweak like the CDA setting. I'm assuming the helmets have a CDA setting and a weight.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything does, and they could tweak it a little bit, and it would matter. And I think it'd be really great if it did, but it does not.
Yeah.
Currently.
So I am firmly against it mattering, only because then I could not have my aspirational long hair in game.
Yeah.
So I thought you'd be with me on this one, Eric. I thought for sure.
I just wish that I could have a true bald avatar. I've got my avatar has like a 5 o'clock shadow thing.
Oh, does he?
It's not me.
Yeah, I wish mine had this little spot here, but not really.
Nah, do you?
No. I want the long hair.
I'm just going to judge all of you for not encouraging appropriate road safety and wearing helmets.
Yeah, if you're on for my ride outdoors, I wore a helmet. Totally. So did Jordan, I'm assuming, this weekend. He wasn't going 1985 cyclist.
I sure did wear a helmet. Yeah, and my teammate cracked a helmet this weekend, so very important.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so digging more into bike stuff. Do you ever test the wattage? So Surrey Hills was a bit of a turning point for me, because in my video I suggested either Tarmac Pro or the it's like Tarmac Pro and a little bit more aero wheels like DT Swiss, and you suggested the Tron because there's a lot of flats, a lot of downhills for it. Are you ever testing something like the Tarmac Pro in the draft versus the Tron in the draft to see the wattage difference in like in a race setting.
I've always wondered about this. Yes.
It's yeah, people have asked this question, and the only draft testing I've done is the TTT, I guess, like a 4-person draft line. And it wasn't testing different bikes. It was just testing the watt savings in the different positions. So
Okay.
second position, third, fourth, you're saving 33%, that sort of thing. The reason I haven't tested it is because there's no easy way to test it. Like I've thought about like recruiting 50 people for a meetup and going, okay, everybody, you have to all be on erg mode at 250 watts, and then my bot is going to sit in there, and I'm going to do all these different tests. I got basically all I could do, apart from buying 30 more computers and setting up 30 Zwift accounts. And
would it work with the new pace bots?
That's what I was gonna say. Try to like pick one of the pace spots and do one of the sprint points or one of the KOMs that they go on, probably sprint point, and see like, set the wattage just perfect so you're in the draft. I picture you with a knob doing it. That's probably not correct, but I like to picture that where you can just adjust it.
I've thought about that. The problem is the pace bots. Their pace varies based on what's happening around the pace spot. I mean, I guess now you've got remember when they turned off the drafting for the pacer bot?
Yeah.
And it was like everything went crazy. But yeah, like if you've got, and if you've ridden with the pacer bots, you've probably felt it. Like if there's a group near the front, like typically what happens with cadence is you get this group near the front that's like pushing the pace, and then eventually they kind of disconnect, and everything kind of slows down in the pacer bots thing, and then another group comes to the front, and the same thing happens over and over. You could test it, but my hunch would be that I couldn't get enough precision for the results to mean anything, because it's super hard. Even with just my 4-rider TTT test, it was really hard to measure it precisely, because everyone's still moving around, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's my minimum wattage for sitting in here, and the riders are kind of drifting, and you're going, okay, I think he's drifting off the back now, so that's not quite enough wattage. So you turn the knob a little, and he eases up a little, but it's tough to do. And I'm sure that with the frames, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference wattage wise in those kind of tests. There's no way.
So I'm in for the test if you need somebody to ride. Jacquie has her helmet and glasses on now because she's very safe.
I'm really curious what would happen if you had like a group of 30 or 40 racers and you were sitting 10 bikes back. I want to know what the watt savings is there. That's the main reason I want to do the test, because I want to know if it's more than because the maximum I've measured is like 35% savings, at the 4th position of a TTT. But what's it like in a bigger group?
So, I mean, I know this is anecdotal, but as I've mentioned, I'm incredibly lazy, and so I have practiced drafting.
Solidarity.
Yeah. I know we're brothers. But in the old draft physics, at least, I used to dangle way off the back, like 3-5 meters. I'd always have the thing. If I didn't have the thing up there, I was either going up a hill or I was too far off. With the new draft physics, I know that it's different, like how it's done just based on feel. But I would love to do those. I mean, I honestly, when I say like, let's do it, I will do it.
So, like, why don't we just put some pressure on Papa Eric Min and get him to hand over the metadata for everyone that's ever raced every type of frame ever? And you could just distill it down with an algorithm and see what bike costs what wattage. Well, Come on.
I mean, I heard Eric say he knows John Mayfield. So
yeah, like we have the data's there. It's just you got to get it. Yeah.
The truth is the frames don't behave any differently in the draft than they do out of the draft. Like it's the same savings,
which is different than you would expect outside, because the savings are null and void, right? Because the air is not going around the frame as it would be in the open air, right? Because it's buffeted by the big butt in front of you.
Yeah. So. Well, and I wouldn't say. I was actually thinking about this today once again, and it's not so much at least the way I think about it on Zwift, it's not so much that the savings are null and void. It's that you don't care about the savings because you don't need the savings. Like the difference between a slow frame and a fast frame, which maybe we'll talk about in a second, but it's only really it might be say 5 watts, 10 watts. And when you're sitting in the pack, just tapping out tempo, that's not a big deal at all. So yeah, you're still saving wattage, but you don't really care. Now, when you're on the rivet, going up a climb or trying to chase down an attack or going off the front, all of a sudden it does matter, and those 5 or 10 watts are really valuable to you.
I think
Yeah,
Rick,
that was actually my follow-up question. You know, here we're talking about top speed only. You know, like 5, 10 watts top speed. How does that factor into acceleration? You know, because so often in these Zwift races, it's that last 200 meters. It's who can accelerate and get around that person to get this finish line. So
you test sprints too, right, Eric? You have done.
I've tried to test them. I've tried to test acceleration and I've tried to test sprinting, but it's the problem is Zwift doesn't give you granular enough data to say to give you any kind of great results. And Strava definitely doesn't give you granular data because it's 1 second.
yeah,
But even on Zwift, I couldn't tell a difference. Basically, there wasn't a noticeable difference between frames and wheel sets beyond what we already know about their speeds when it comes to sprints. The thing is, Zwift, outside there's so many variables when it comes to sprinting. Jordan, I mean, you know this, like how quickly do you accelerate? How are you positioned? The wind, the turns, the shooting the hole, all that stuff. And on Zwift, you ride through other riders, and your whole bike setup, all it has is weight and a CDA value. That's all there is to it. There's no like stiffness. There's no what's your position as a rider? Are you sitting up or are you Caleb Ewan? Or it's a pretty simplified setup, which makes my job easier when I'm testing stuff. I mean, it's really the frame that's the fastest is kind of the fastest in every situation.
And it's almost always the Tron.
The Tron's a pretty
like Rick, don't hold back your beef about the Tron. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I just added to the show agenda. Here's something I want everyone's opinion on. Should we be taking the Tron out of races? Because I mean, I put in the work to get the Tron, it's fine. Like, I like riding it. But it drives me crazy how, like, even on Surrey Hills, like, I mean, at least for those of us who aren't climbers, like, that was the most climby race. For it still to be the Tron, it's like, really, I was like, come on, like, how can this be? You know what I mean? And I know there are downhills and stuff, but, like, do we think, I would love to hear from all three of you, like, what do we think? Should the Tron even be allowed in races, or should it be like a fun ride around bike?
I think that depends whether you want to have a neutral bike start or not. Do you want bike choice to be part of the race?
Oh, we did.
Or do you want to have a standardized bike setup that everybody?
We want choice, because then what would Eric write articles about?
I personally like the idea of the bikes looking different. Like in these B races I was doing for the ZRL, 85% of people are on Tron bikes, you know?
Yeah.
So like you said, it's kind of like a neutral bike choice. And it'd be fun. I like the idea of me just being able to choose something that isn't the Tron and feel like I'm not at a disadvantage, like, you know, to be able to goof around with it a little bit.
Yeah. I would like, and we should obviously be letting Eric answer this question. Like, we're just all putzing around this, but okay. So I race a lot of, like, you know, car simulator games, like Gran Turismo, that type of stuff for fun. And those cars, like in there, they all have ratings and they're very discreet, and it's like top speed, acceleration, handling, but it's not like out of 4 stars. It's out of like 100. And like it all has you know, it's 576 horsepower. It's not 400 or 300. And so I would really like it if all these bikes just had discrete stats out of 100. And like, you know, you could pick a bike and you'd be like, oh, this one's a 96 aero and a 52 weight. And, you know, so it'd be very interesting, and they would all be actually different. Right now, it's like S-Works Venge, disc wheel, Tron, climbing bike. And, you know, that one's more aero. It's a 4-star, but it's not as good a 4-star as the other 4-star. I would like it to be so different that everybody could kind of cook their own recipe on this and pick their own combinations and stuff. And like, we could write 1,000 articles about it, Eric.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I like more detail. I'd like it to be more granular. But knowing Zwift and how they try to appeal to the lower level, simpler side of things, I don't ever see that happening. The question of the Tron bike, I would not shed a tear if Zrl said no Tron bikes in Zrl. I mean, it's outlawed in a lot of the top end, like the pro races.
Yeah.
For good reasons. And yeah, I think it would make stuff more interesting. It'd make the peloton look more interesting. It'd make people think a little more. So yeah, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind them adjusting it so it's not.
I'll appeal to Zwift's economic sense too. If you put enough categories that are granular enough, people will actually choose the different bike brands because they'll be special in one way or the other. Yeah. And so the felt bike will actually get ridden. The Focus will actually get ridden, and you can sell all these bikes. Otherwise, it's just going to be, Specialized got their big sack of money. Oh yeah, the SL7's the best frickin' bike ever. Yeah. Okay.
I was talking to the head of marketing of a big US brand recently, and we were talking about how bike is in Zwift and it doesn't perform very well. Nobody wants to race it.
Mm-hmm.
And how that really ticks them off because it's an amazing bike. And I asked him, what's your take on how long it's going to be, or if it's already happening, until the performance of a bike in Zwift affects the sales of that bike in the real life? And he said, I think it's already happening. And I said, I totally agree. I think that probably started a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I want an S-Works Venge because of Zwift.
Yeah.
I know it's stupid.
I have an S-Works Venge, maybe because of Zwift.
Well, do you remember the negative publicity when they dropped the Canyon and it wasn't good at all?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what a dog. And they had to fix that right quick.
And I totally have like the mindset of the Tarmac SL7, which is an incredible bike outdoors. Yeah. On Zwift, it wasn't that great, and now I'm like, I don't want that bike. I was thinking that was
weird.
A great bike.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's in there.
So like right now, it drives me crazy, and part of the reason I stopped bugging you as much for the bike choice stuff for the videos is because there's only 3 or 4 bikes and wheels you're ever gonna pick, ever. And so what I realized too is that, because I was like, oh, I'll get every single thing in the game. And I realized I made a huge mistake doing that. I should have only got the S-Works Venge, only got the disc wheels, only got the Aero 2021, the DT Swiss, the Tarmac Pro, and the Tron. Because right now I have so much crap, it takes me forever to do a bike switch. It takes forever because you scroll through and you go way too far. And I'm like, I did that in one of the ZR. I mean, you said not to do it in your article, Eric, but I, of course, knew better. So I tried it up Innsbruck, and I wasted 20 seconds because I over scrolled a stupid Tarmac Pro.
Yeah.
And you can't get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I often, when I do the bike swap to a mountain bike, I always swap to the Trek Caliber because it's right by the Tron in my list.
Yeah.
Just click it and just go between, and the Tron, already has the right wheels, so that's it's a really quick swap.
Can we not have Zwift? Can we not have a favorites panel?
I know.
Like, I want a refund.
Panel. Sell what we don't use anymore.
I think you should be able to hit a button on your keyboard, and it just switches your bike. Your bike.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Oh no!
I was like, unpopular opinion here. I've also never switched a bike.
Well, you're about to switch the bike when we do our ring. Jacquie? I know. Do you even know what Zwift is, Jacquie? Have you ever won anything?
Do you even ride bikes?
You don't take this very seriously.
I know.
I'll be honest. I used to ride bikes outside, but
Give it
I
up.
did so in this position, and then I had to run afterwards.
Did we
It sucked.
did we say for the podcast listeners that Jacquie is riding her bike with a helmet and glasses on right now?
And I can-
We want you to know this for the podcast.
I'm setting a good example of bike safety.
Or insanity, one or the other.
All right.
Riding in your kitchen with a helmet on.
All right, we've danced around it quite a bit, but I'm going to ask the correct question directly to you, Eric. Do you think bike choice and wheel choice actually makes a difference in Zwift?
Uh-oh.
Well, makes a difference, yes,
Okay.
because it makes a measurable difference. Now, does it affect your race? I think is the bigger question. Matter racing. I think it depends. Is my quick answer. I think I would divide it up into 3 different situations, and each of those situations has its own answer. So the first situation is time trials and TTTs. It absolutely matters for those. Like every second counts, especially in a TT, like just an individual one. I mean, you know that. That's why TT people freak out about aero everything. So it absolutely matters there. If you can get 2 seconds, why would you not get 2 seconds? Just do it. Second situation would be like the experienced Zwifters that have their pick of everything. And if you look at, like, we've got Zwift Insider posts that have the fastest bikes in terms of aero, the fastest frames, fastest wheel sets. I wrote it down. There's 8 frames on the list. There's 6 wheel sets in the list. And if you look at the times for those combined, if you took the slowest setup from that list and compared it to the fastest setup in the list, the difference is 13 seconds over about an hour effort. So your fastest ones, which pretty much any experienced Zwifter has access to these at this point, so one of these setups, the biggest gap is 13 seconds in an hour. Do the math. That's if you round it up to 15 seconds, that's 0.42% of a speed difference, which in terms of wattage is maybe like 3 to 4 watts difference. Are you going to notice that in a race? You're not going to notice it when you're in the pack.
It's calibration.
When you're not on the rivet and you're just sitting in, that won't matter one bit. And when the pinch point comes and you get dropped, 3 or 4 watts isn't going to keep you on either. It's not that big of a difference. So I would say for those Zwifters who are just looking at what's the very, very best one, I don't think it matters that much. Tron versus S-Works Venge with this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in terms of your results, except some people, including myself, it matters mentally.
Yeah.
And
me
mental's
too.
huge. I want to be able to race and know that I'm on a fast setup. I can race knowing that maybe I'm not on the very fastest. Like if I know it's a 2-second difference, I'm okay with that. But if I know I'm really losing time, it gets in my head and I'm like, oh, it feels so slow. And mental's a big thing with people. I mean, I get emails from people all the time who are like, I feel like the Tron's faster in the dirt than the other bikes. It totally is. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's all in your head. So
Green Tron's faster than Pink Tron. Everybody knows this.
Pink Tron, though, keeps your fueling up, Jacquie. Pink Tron, pink bottles.
Yep.
So that's the second group. I would say it doesn't really matter, except mentally it matters if you have access to those fastest frames. The third group I would say are the folks, the crazy people who are next to me in the starting pens in Crit City who are riding the stock Zwift frame and wheels. And there's so many of them. Like all these Zwifters that like they don't know that the drop shop exists or something. I don't know. For them, bike choice really matters, because if you do the math and you compare that stock wheel set, so the Zwift Carbon it's called, with the 32 millimeter carbon wheels, compare that to the fast setups, you're looking at 70 seconds over an hour. And if you do the math on that, that's like 15 watts. And that's something you're going to notice.
Yeah.
That's something that's going to wear on you over the course of the race to where you can't make the jump when it matters, and you might lose because of your bike. But for them, it does matter. They need to read more Zwift Insider, learn how to use the drop shop, upgrade their ride at least a little bit.
And that's probably the why Zwift designed the hierarchy of bikes in the first place, was for you to realize that your crap was slow at the start and ride enough to get to the stuff that was fast, and then you're hooked.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's about, I guess.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I have to
It
say,
matters.
that was an incredibly well thought out answer there for that question that I asked. That was really good.
That's excellent.
I'm kind of jealous now.
Well, thanks. I've had a lot of time to think about it, because I get questions from folks a lot, and I get folks who are like I'll post a test. I'll post test results, and they're like, it's only 1% difference. It doesn't matter, and they don't understand bike physics and this and that. And some folks do understand it, and I get really great feedback. But I've had a few years to think of my responses to all these questions.
Okay, we built Eric up. Now can we talk about his biggest mess up?
And so here's what I realized because we all three of us love, me and Jackie and Jordan were talking about this afterward. We love this thing where we talked about our mess ups. I actually didn't even mention my biggest ever mess up during this.
Please do.
So when I first got my Tax Neo, and I just looked over it. That's why I just looked over. I didn't tighten my rear. I didn't tighten it on properly.
Oh.
And so in my first,
that way.
and so my first sprint, I tipped my entire setup over and just smashed into my table, and my bottles and everything went flying all over the place like an idiot. Luckily, it didn't even mess up my bike. I don't know how, but
Please tell me you were streaming.
no, I would be cool. I would play that if I was. That was before I had my streaming setup. I'm sorry, Jordan.
That would be a legendary meme.
Yeah. That would my face like falling over, bottles flying up in the air everywhere. So I had to mention it because I was like, mine were so boring, and I forgot about that time I fell over like an idiot. So
that sets the table.
Yeah. Well, all right, Eric. So this is our new segment. Every guest we have on, including our super special guest, I'm betting she's going to have a lot of them. Well, she's going to have 3, but I bet they're going to be good. We're going to talk about our 3 biggest biking mess ups, either in real life or virtual or whatever. So Eric, let's hear them.
All right, 3 biggest. The first one was the Winters Road Race as a Cat 4 a few years ago. I don't know how long ago it was now. 4 years ago. I did not recce the course. First mistake. I didn't ride the course. It didn't pre-ride. I looked at it on Strava, and it was a 2-lap course, about like 40 miles a lap or something. And we get towards the end of the second lap, and I'm in a pack of about 10 riders, and I look up the road, and I think finish line is right around that corner. And these guys are struggling. I'm gonna attack right on this little rise, drop them all, blazing victory. Not even close to a victory, by the way. There was like 40 riders ahead of me because I got dropped on the climbs, but I was gonna win my micro race. So I did exactly that. Attack hard. One guy goes with me, who, by the way, is a Zwifter that showed up on one of my rides the other day and brought this up as I'm leading the ride. Hilarious. Hey, remember me? Anyway, he gets on my wheel. We come around the corner. Finish line is nowhere in sight. It's like 3 miles up the road. So we did end up staying away. Me and this other guy worked together. You know, he ended up he beat me to the line. But so the wrong finish line, which is a mistake I've made twice in Zwift as well. Once was sprinting on the wrong lap on Crit City. I mean, how do you even do that? Like, the lap counter is right up there. Another was a wrong finish line where they had one of those finish lines that's like the virtual finish line.
Yeah.
And I was sprinting for the lap banner. I've actually probably done that more than once. It's pretty bad. So wrong finish line, first mess up. second one, this was kind of weird. I'm curious if this has ever happened to any of you guys. I was in the Dunnigan Hills road race, and it was a long race, like 90-mile race. Again, as a Cat 4, and I mean, you always pee before the race, but you're like trying to hydrate as well. And I get like 20 miles into this race, and I have to pee, but I'm not going to stop, and I'm not going to wet my pants because I'm not a triathlete. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
That was great. That's the whole thing.
Wrong.
Next story.
Yeah. So I have to pee super bad. And what this does is it makes me not want to drink water.
Yeah.
So I get to like miles 60 or 70 of this race, and I realize I've drunk like a bottle of water. And it's a pretty warm day. And I sweat like a pig anyway. And I start down in the water, but the cramps hit like 5 miles later. I start cramping up and I just seize up. Like I limp across the line because I drank a bottle and a half in like 3 hours of racing. Ended up like, I remember going back to my car. It was only me. I didn't have teammates or anything in there. I remember going back to my car and sitting in there, and I was like nauseated, had a headache. I'm ticking off all the like heat stroke symptoms going, ooh, I gotta cool down and hydrate. So have you guys ever experienced anything like that? Is that a thing?
I've gotten to the end of long road races and realized that I had to pee the whole time, and I just climbed a 10-kilometer mountain and then peed like a kilo into the ditch and been like,
I could have gone so much faster.
Yeah, I've been like, good one, dude. Excellent, excellent work. And because pros do pee off the bike, but I've never been able to do that one well. And sometimes
they stand and grab someone else's bike and pee the other way or something.
No, you just kind of I'm not going to show you.
I was like, easy, Jordan.
You just
family
pull it out and just, glide on the side of the peloton on a downhill and try to do it kind of not wind of the peloton. But usually, yeah, it's a rough sport, like you do kind of get someone's pee on you once in a while. Yeah. But I have not been able to do that. And my body won't let me. So yeah, I've had it. But it's funny, in your brain, you're kind of thinking like this, that's how the system works. Like I have to pee, therefore I'm full of water. Yeah. And you are not full of water.
Yeah.
I was thinking that one of the topics I wanted to do for the show, because I've never raced on the road, as I've told you guys, I've never even done like a proper group ride. And I was like, oh, we should talk about how to go from Zwifting to real life racing. And then the quote from this show is, cycling's a rough sport. Sometimes you get peed on. I'm now not so sure I want to do this anymore.
Well, it is a rough sport. You just talked about falling off your bike in your office there, though. So that's also embarrassing.
I didn't get peed on, though. So
yeah, it happened, and you can crash and you can break things, and your wife will be very angry at you for your silly hobby.
It would be
racing outside, or is this parenthood? I'm getting confused.
Right, exactly. So number 3, Eric, like.
Okay, so number 3 is the most recent one by far. It happened, I don't know how long ago it was now, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. We have a local volcano, actually, a dormant volcano, and it's got a dirt road up it, and I like to ride my mountain bike up this climb. It's like a 40-minute, 35-minute climb, and then descend it. And I'm doing it alone one day. I'm descending it. And I come around what I now realize is the sharpest corner of the whole descent, near the bottom of it. And it's a full hairpin turn on my mountain bike. And I kind of look around the corner. I go up and I do the whole apex turn thing. And I'm cutting the corner. I'm all the way on the inside, and I kind of look up again. And there's a dirt biker coming up in his lane, which is the lane I'm in because I'm cutting the corner. It's a left-hand turn. So I'm going right into this guy on a dirt bike, and I just like instinctively just ate it. Just like I didn't like hit the brakes. I didn't swerve. I just wipe out completely. I hit the deck and I roll over, and his front wheel hits me right here. Luckily, he was not going fast. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know what would have happened. I was laying there, and the first thought in my mind was, is this how it ends? Is this I'm cutting a corner on a mountain bike and I died this way? Because it was like this crazy pain in my back and I couldn't breathe. Like, oh man, I'm gonna die right here. It turned out to be only bruised ribs. I didn't even break them. But wow, I've never had bruised ribs before. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was like 6 weeks of, a lot of pain when you sneeze and cough or breathe too hard. Anyway, that was I learned what that taught me is what I thought was a totally safe way of riding that mountain. Like I wasn't taking any risk. I wasn't even trying to bomb it that time. I was just going down it. And I thought I was riding totally safely, and it was not. And if that had been a car, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
A car going 5 miles an hour faster. Yeah.
Well, we're glad
Wow.
you're safe. I'm also wondering, what did that biker guy say to you after this?
He was super cool, actually. I had actually ridden bikes with him, road bikes with him, a couple times. It had been a couple of years, but he had been on the high school mountain bike team that I had ridden with a few times.
Wow.
And he was super cool. He was apologizing over and over again. I'm like, dude, it wasn't your fault at all. Totally my bad. But he was like, he wanted to help in any way he could. Yeah, he never like said anything. He didn't even have to get off the bike. Like he hit me, but he had stopped quick enough that he didn't ride over me. It was like he was just there. He was standing there. So
if it makes you feel better, Eric, that almost happened to me and my teammate on Friday here before the race. We went a pre-race ride on the bike path, and there's crazy cool bike paths around this Washington, D.C. area. They're twisty, and there's this one, it's a semi-blind corner, and we're in our lane, but sort of kissing the yellow line coming around here, maybe 40K an hour, and there's a wall on the other side, so you can't really see around it. This guy, and he had to run about 280. This was a large man. He was riding an electric scooter bike in the other lane, and he was also kissing the yellow line. And I made poopy in my pants, but he took the high road and steered the moped directly into the cement wall and took one for the team there. I mean,
way to go,
yeah,
man.
but like, oh my God, I had that same feeling. Like if this had been a little different, I would have gone right through this moped. You shouldn't be riding your moped on the bike path. But,
should you be riding your bike at 40K per hour on the bike path, though?
Rick, you leave this to the professionals, okay?
I know our bike path has a speed limit of 10 miles an hour here. I don't know what they do out there in old DC.
I don't roll out of bed for 10 miles an hour, man.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, so the moral of the story is road biking is dangerous and Zwift is less dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I do it so much. All right.
Mountain biking is dangerous too, apparently. I told my wife it probably just means I need a gravel bike.
Yeah.
It's a good.
I have just been pitching a gravel bike to she's in the other room. So, of course, I'm recording this also. So maybe I should not worry about it.
Bought a mountain bike, Rick.
No, I didn't get the mountain bike. I didn't get the mountain bike. No, because, I don't really know why. For a number of reasons. Other things I spent money on stupidly.
You're due then. You're due for a gravel bike.
Yeah.
When I've told that story to some folks, I've had multiple people say that they've had close calls or wrecks when doing gravel rides or mountain bike rides because you forget that there's traffic on those kind of roads compared. I mean, on pavement, you're like, oh yeah, there's cars everywhere. Like it's just in your head. But when you're out there out in the middle of nowhere on gravel or doing this volcano thing, it's like it's easy to forget that, and that's a dangerous mistake to make.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know how we got here, but we're in hour 20. That felt like 15 or 20 minutes. Before we go, I feel like Jacquie hasn't said anything in a while. Do you have? I feel like it's the glasses.
Jacquie, what course are you on?
Yeah, what course?
I'm guessing Sand and Sequoias.
That's my guess too. No. And also, okay, so the three of us, since no one on the stream guessed, all three of us will guess course and average wattage thus far. Okay.
So she said it's
Okay.
not sequoias.
So you go Jordan first. Course average water,
Okay.
then Eric, then I'll go.
TikTok and 124.
Oh no. Eric, go for it.
I'll go Watopia flat 155.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with the New Japan course on the big loop around there. I forget what it's called now. And I saw Jackie was actually a little bit winded earlier when she was talking. And I think Jackie doesn't roll out of bed for under 220.
No way, Rick.
Yeah.
You guys are generous here. So I'm going to end the ride now, get the official average watts. So that was actually Tempest Fugit.
Oh,
I wanted to put out the lowest watts possible.
I was actually going to guess that. I should have done it.
Yeah, you were close. You were close. And it was 114.
114.
Okay. I win.
Joe's Guitar
close.
Shop gets TikTok 185. So that was Joe's was pretty close too. All right. Well,
Rick, that would be insane to do a podcast / YouTube show at 220.
well, it's like I told you guys my first idea for this whole for no breakaways. My very first thing I wanted to do was noodling with the pros, where we'd get a pro on and me, and I would just talk to you live about stuff while we were riding, and then I would try to goad the pro into doing a sprint at some point in the course. This was the genesis of no breakaways.
Far too lazy for that, Rick.
Yeah.
Never gonna do that.
This is a lot easier, but yeah. So anyways, okay, so we got sponsor plugs here, Jackie. Go for it. Let's hear it. The Triantist 24.
Yeah. So, of course, ride for Saris the Pro's Closet on Zwift. Also have noon hydration, which I am going to have plenty of after riding for an hour and a half and just chatting with you guys.
Nice.
You know, I didn't have my water right here, and that was a big mistake. I will have to go rectify it.
See, you're
And
just
then
like Eric. You're just like Eric. You didn't have water.
I didn't want to spill it on my computer was the issue.
Mm.
You guys already saw me like dump the computer once. I was like, if that happens, I'm so sunk. And then my coach, Chris Navin with 4-Star Coaching.
Awesome. Jordan, how about you?
Elevate Webplex racing all over the USA. Tulsa Tough is going to be broadcast on USA Crits TV. So I'm not sure whether it's a subscription or what, but
It is.
that's good
Yeah.
viewing. If you want to, it's, buy a pass if you want to see what this whole racing outside thing is all about, because it's distilled down. They're an hour and 15 minutes long, and it's everything at once. So it's pretty cool. And peakformcoaching.com if you want to get fast. We're all racing outside now. Hey, let's get fit. It's time to roll.
And if you yell, let's go no breakaways at Jordan at Tulsa Tough, he promises to put out a 700 watt 1 minute effort if you do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's physically impossible, but I will give it my best shot.
All right, Eric, what do you got for us?
Well, in terms of sponsors, Zwift has been a supporter of Zwift Insider for years, and always thankful to them for their support. And we have a great relationship with them. But my other sponsor would be every Zwifter who's ever visited the site, because as we get traffic, we're able to make income in various ways. So I'm thankful that people visit the site and read stuff. And when people tell me, when they say thanks for running Zwift Insider and for all you do, I always tell them, you keep reading, I'll keep writing. That's the truth. And
You are so welcome.
audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a reader and person who has definitely trafficked your site more than once, thank you.
Yeah, we
My
all
pleasure.
really appreciate it. And I know I personally appreciate it. You've been a big supporter of No Breakaways. You've published random articles. I just randomly sent you an email one day about the first article I wanted to do, and you were like, yeah, write it up, which, was super cool. So, personally here, we really appreciate everything you do over at Zwift Insider.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on too.
Yeah, of
Thanks.
course. No, yeah, we really appreciate it. And so for No Breakaways, as always, click like and subscribe, all that stuff. Visit us on Instagram. Podcast is up at Spotify. We're on Google now. Apple is really being a pain in my butt for some reason. Hopefully we're going to be up on Apple. So this will be on a podcast or in a podcast form Tuesday or Wednesday. Just search for Outside the Draft, and I'll put a link in the show notes below to make it easy for you to go to. So yeah, until next time, thanks a lot, everybody.